All right, Cassey Stone and Jacob Michna, you guys are on Driven to Ride. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, this is exciting. So, Cassey, full disclosure, you and I know each other already. We worked in radio together back in a previous life.
Yes, we did. Fun times, outside sales, selling radio, with cars going to podcasts in their car and everything on Spotify. So that was a good time for me.
Yeah, but you showed me how tough you have to be an off-road rider in the state of Idaho. Man, I still think about that ride. I don't know if you know this, Jacob, but Cassey took my buddy Danny and I on a ride, and I didn't do so hot. The best compliment I got all day was from Cassey, and she goes, "You know how to crash really well."
That sounds about right.
That's a skill, though. Yeah. Seriously.
So I appreciated the positive spin. So, but Jacob, this is the first time we're meeting. So nice to meet you. Thanks for being here. Let's start kind of from the beginning, and you guys can take turns or go back and forth. What's kind of in your own words, what's your guys' claim to fame?
Sure. So I'll go first. So my claim to fame in this riding space is all my friends, well, they say when we go on a ride that's led by me, they always ask, is it a Cassey ride? Is it a Cassey ride? And it's like, is it a ride? Is it an adventure? Because you may or may not go on a 12-hour day and end up walking out at midnight in the middle of the woods. So that's kind of my claim to fame is everyone knows me for riding mountain single track, and that's what I love the most. So I love showing people around and taking them on trails and pushing them because, when people start out to ride in the desert, the next step, has got to be the walk out at midnight ride in the mountains with Cassey. So that's kind of my claim to fame. And then, of course, I did scoring for our local racing series, Sidra. So some people know me as a scoring chick. And then recently, for the Hell Yeah Moto clinics. So I'm coaching and getting bigger in that space here. There's not a lot of female coaches. So that's probably my claim to fame. And then Jake's is way cooler than mine.
Yeah, mine is basically I'm the last survivor of Cassey's rides. So still standing strong. But no, yeah, so mine, my claim to fame, I guess, would be from my time as a series director at the National Hare and Hound Association. So running both the National Hare and Hounds, which is 80 to 120 mile long desert races, and also running the AMA West Hare Scrambles, which is around 2.5 hour plus races in the premier class in the woods. So one's desert, one's woods. So got the best of both worlds. And then dabbled in Sidra for a little bit too. And then I worked at dealerships before that for about 8 years. So, but yeah.
Weren't you the longest standing director?
Yeah, so I was the longest standing director. The longest one before me was 3 years, and I did it, which was Eric Kudla, and he went off to be the AMA off-road manager. And yeah. I did it for 8 years. So it was a long time. I think I counted over 100 races in NHHA alone. Wow. And I was also in clubs before that, putting on races. And then that's kind of how I got into it was with Eric. I helped him run a series for a while. So did a lot of time putting on races since I was 15 to now, basically. So,
man,
I think the only job
awesome.
he hasn't had in motorcycles is, weren't you like a delivery driver for 2 weeks?
Yeah, I didn't even actually go on deliveries. I trained for UPS for a little bit, and then I got a call from a dealership saying, "Hey, we got a job opening." I was like, "I'll be there," and then they hired me. So
you dodged a bullet. You dodged the real job bullet. Congratulations,
exactly.
Man.
Thank you.
Well, yeah, no, that's super awesome. I mean, I know Cassey loves motorcycles and off-road riding. Again, from firsthand knowledge of riding with her, and it sounds like you've been around the motorcycle world for a hell of a long time. So, super excited to talk to you guys about it. But let's start at the beginning. How did you guys get into motorcycling?
So I got into it seriously I had a random redneck friend who was like, "You have ridden dirt bikes?" And I'm like, "No, but I'll try because I'm down to try anything."
Yeah.
And yeah, borrowed a bike, went out in like tennis shoes or whatever, no gear. I had a helmet. It went on a Forest Service road, and that was it. Like for the first 3 rides, I did that and learned that there was a back brake because I didn't know that was a thing. Like just seriously,
sure.
You know, when the dad teaches the daughter how to swim, just throws her in the water. That's how it was for dirt biking with me.
Yeah.
And then that's how it started. I seriously just had this friend that was like, hey, I do this thing. You want to join me? And I said, sure. And then he actually fronted my first dirt bike, bought it for me, let me make payments. I'm this young kid just trying to figure out life with finances. And he let me pay it off. And then after that, it was just an addiction. So that's how I got into it.
So were you hooked right from the start, or did it take a couple of rides to really get into it?
I was hooked, but I really got hooked when I did my first like real big race. 2019, I did the Kellogg Hard Enduro, the Silver Kings, and I did it on this clapped out O2 Honda 2-stroke, no e-start, dude. It was horrible. I didn't care about anything back then, like matching gear wise. We showed up the only ones camping in the parking lot in a tent. Everyone else has toy haulers and it's all bougie. And I'm just like, yeah, let's go do this thing. So I did it, and I was pushing my bike uphill, throwing up out of my helmet.
Oh my God.
And just like killing my body and my mental state. But the thing is, I finished, I didn't give up. And that's when I learned, holy shit, like I have a lot of passion for this thing. And that's when I realized I was like, I love it. So I went home, bought a brand new bike. Everyone told me, you're going to ride so much better after you get a new bike. And I didn't believe them. And it's really true. So it was that moment when I was like, I didn't give up and I love it. And I need something new to get me to the next level. So yeah.
Nice, man. Jacob, how about you? How did you get into motorcycling?
When I was like 10 years old, my dad picked me up one day and took me to a dealership. I had no idea where we were going. And he was like, all right, well, this is your new dirt bike. And it was, the good old classic XR100 that a lot of people have like grown up learning at that age. He picked that up. We went out riding, I think the next day. And, I didn't like the first time I rode, I didn't think I was going to like it. And neither did he. Like I went down the sandy road and had to do 180. And I would just fall over and wait for him to get me. And I didn't get out of first gear. So like the second time I went out, I got into fifth, and that's when it all like clicked for me. And then I fell in love with it. And like in the beginning ages, when I was younger, I was into freestyle a lot. And then I started working at this little repair shop when I was 15 and a half or whatever. And they were all into desert racing. I didn't even know that existed at the time. And then they like told me all the cool stories of like Destry Abbott, Danny Hamill, and Johnny Campbell. And they like, made them seem like legends, which they are, but like, built it in my head type thing. And then I just fell in love with that. I went out to like my first desert race and saw what a bomb run was. And which, if you don't know what that is, that's like 100-ish people wide going across the desert. Eventually, like a mile later, you go down to one trail. So I fell in love with it there. I actually did really good out there compared to like where I did in motocross, because I had raced one motocross race before that. And so I kind of bounced around all the different like aspects of off-road for a while and raced that until eventually I was like started transitioning to more into helping putting them on. So raced for quite a bit of races though in my younger years until I went to college. So
nice. So once you got into fifth gear, you were hooked?
Yeah, that's all it took. I was like, okay.
Second ride.
Yeah. And then we were building tabletops out in my grandpa's like farmland, just flat land. He was out there like building little tabletops for us. And yeah.
Man, that's like full send. I love it.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, that's like so I don't know if I've ever shared this story, but how I learned how to ride a motorcycle and like with a gear and transmission and stuff like that was I was 15 and I skipped a day of driver's ed over the summer to go riding with a good buddy of mine whose family was into dirt bike riding. And I had, ridden scooters or ridden like mini bikes and all that kind of stuff. So I knew, I was comfortable on two wheels, but I had never used like, the clutch and a transmission or whatever. But I remember by the end of the day, I was getting a little bit of air off tabletops and stuff. And that was like the most fun thing. So I totally get it. Once you get the transmission down and you don't have to think about it, it's so fun.
Yeah, it's a blast.
Totally feel that. So, well, let's talk about desert racing a little bit, Jacob. Tell me about National Hare and Hound. Tell me just about desert racing. I mean, I'm from the Midwest, so that's a completely foreign concept to me. So
got it. Yeah, so here on the West Coast, what like separates us from the East Coast is we have a lot of BLM land, so Bureau of Land Management, meaning like we have big sparses of desert and stuff to work with. So in different states, you have different rules and stuff to follow. But like, for example, down in Southern California and Johnson Valley, you're able to just kind of go across the desert. You don't necessarily have to stay on a trail, compared to here to Idaho, where you have to stay on a trail. You're not allowed to like just cross barren virgin terrain, they call it.
Sure.
So yeah, down in basically all hare and hounds, there's kind of different styles of desert racing. There's hare and hound, there's scrambles, there's Euro scrambles, and then there's like enduros, and they all basically have different formats. But hare and hounds is a race that is based off of distance rather than time. So your hare and hound in the rule book has to be a minimum of 70 miles ish. It changes once in a while, but basically more than that. And it can be more than 140. And hare and hounds are kind of weird because they can also be like a point to point. Which we've had a couple of those in the past when I was working there. But logistically, it was a little harder to put on. But yeah, basically you imagine 2 loops. Your standard hare and hound is 2 different loops, and you never see the same part of the course twice, except for maybe the last little bit coming into the finish. And you'll start on this bomb run, and you're going to go across the desert, and you all merge down into this trail. And they used to call it bomb run because they would have these smoke bombs back in the day. At the end of the bomb run. And if you've ever seen On Any Sunday, the movie, that's that desert racing scene. That was the bomb run. And
nice.
A lot of that is, still continue on today. It's harder to get the permits for bomb runs, but for the actual smoke, I mean, so yeah, for the bomb part, as you can imagine.
Sure.
But you merge down into one trail, and then that's where you're like 40 miles ish start, let's say. And you're going to follow pink arrows and pink ribbon. Kirk Cassey Foundation came up with a new marking system these days. So back in the old day, though, there was never any consistent marking. So it was a little more interesting to like figure out how a club was going to mark a course.
Yeah.
But you go follow that course for 40 miles, and it'll bring you back into pit row, and then you'll refuel. And then you'll head out for your other 40-mile loop. And typically the first 40 miles is a lot more like fast-paced, more flowy. And then your second 40 miles is usually the more like technical. So you'll have a lot more like boulders, waterfalls, downhills, bigger hill climbs.
Jeez, okay.
Yeah, it's usually the more difficult, the more taxing one. But depending on, which round you're at, like the Southern California rounds can typically be a little tougher than like Idaho or like Nevada and stuff like that.
Sure.
Usually the ones that are in Utah and stuff like that are pretty tame, although they have had some hard ones, don't get me wrong. And then, yeah, you come in and it's just like this, I don't know, it's like you're connected with nature really out there.
Sure.
So it's kind of an adventure every time. I highly recommend it if you've never done it. Like if you're worried about the bomb run, like in reality, you just have to worry about the dude to the left and the right of you. So like just take it your time. You'll have a good time. You have 80 miles past those people back if you're serious about the race. So
nice. So Cassey, have you done a hare and hound race or watched a desert race?
Yeah, I've done some hare and hounds, specifically some with his series. That's actually where I first got my first crush on him, was at my first hare and hound race. Who's that guy holding the microphone? He's hot. And here we are. So, but yeah, I raced my last one this year. I did C, worked my way up to B, and then raced my first A this year. And I came in like 18 seconds behind second. So
wow,
I was like, okay, I can do this. And then I proved it to myself. And I haven't raced any others this year, but yeah, it's fun. But to me, I love the woods. So like the hard enduro, the Kellogg race was super fun. And his hare scrambles, I love that style because it's like 15-ish miles, and then you're timed, and then you do as many laps as you can, and then you start to remember the track. So you're like, ooh, I can go faster here because I know what's coming up next. And it's usually in the trees too. I say I'm not a desert rider, but I just do it because it's our backyard. So
yeah, no, for sure. I mean, it seems like you guys obviously dyed in the wool off-road folks, and you'll ride anywhere off-road. Yeah. I know. Do you guys ride street at all? Have you ever ridden street? Do you have any inclinations to ride street, or not really?
I used to have a couple street bikes, an 800 Vulcan and then a 500 GSX Suzuki.
Okay. Yeah.
And I would just ride the Suzuki around, like to work and to volleyball and stuff. Did a couple trips up here from Boise to Idaho City, if any of you are from this area. But other than that, like we would love to get adventure bikes
Sure.
and
Yeah.
go on adventures, but it's too many hobbies that are expensive, I think, for me. I don't know if you've ridden street, have you?
I rode a Grom to a gas station one time, so you could say I'm pretty hardcore.
Man, okay. Yeah, you win the prize on that one, man. That's honestly though, I've heard those Groms are super fun, and every time I see one, I've never seen anybody like have a bad time on one of those. So it's like be kind of fun to have one of those, you know.
Guilty pleasure, right?
It's like dirt bike pit bikes, but for street.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
pit
for
bikes
sure.
are fun, so.
So do you? I have to ask, do you guys, or maybe more specifically, Jacob, do you think that street people that ride on the street are insane or no?
Oh, for sure. Like Isle to Man, I always have like a huge respect for those guys. And I mean, I have, truth be told, I've like hopped on like a crotch rock and try to get the feel for it type thing.
Sure,
and I'm like a fish out of the water. I look like I have never rode a motorcycle before when I hop on one. So
really, wow.
Yeah, it's like a weird concept to me. I don't know, just like the posture and all that stuff. But yeah, I think those guys are nuts. So
see, because I think you off-road people are insane, and that was only even more. That point was only even more driven home on our adventure up to Silver City, Idaho, which. I'd still burned in my brain. It was so fun, but like, and for context, you know, like I said, Cassey was like, "Hey, I got some friends. We're going to go up to Silver City. It's this nice, you know, beautiful trail. You know, why don't you and Danny rent some dirt bikes and we'll go?" And I'm like, "Okay, no big deal. I've ridden for half my life. This shouldn't be a no big deal or whatever." And I don't know if you remember this, Cassey, but the first like downhill, like 5 minutes into the ride, I dumped it and I broke the clutch handle.
Yeah.
And it was a kickstart, and I'm like, all right, I'm not letting this ruin my day or anybody else's. Like, I'm going to roll with it because it could still fit in the housing. I could still manipulate it, but you know, it was basically anytime we stopped, I'd have to kill it. And I mean, oh my God, we went up rocks, we went down rocks. I was such a fish out of water, and so like completely like humbled that day. And so
it's
ever
so
since
different.
and I remember actually something that you told me that I still remember is that you have to be comfortable like letting the bike go where it wants to go. Because with street riding, I mean, you have traction like all the time. You know, you are for lack of a better term, like glued to the ground. And with off-road riding, I mean, it's just fast and loose all the time. You're never like solid on one spot. You have, like you said, you have to be comfortable and solid, like just moving around, you know. It's a completely different world.
Is trying to get as much traction as you can, and it's hard when you're on slippery, dry dirt like we rode. Wish I could have took you on something that was a little more tacky with denser soil and moisture like Idaho City, but definitely threw you into probably the hardest type of riding.
Okay, that makes me feel a little better.
Yeah, no, you should feel good. And I remember there's a lot of rain ruts too, and as a beginner or intermediate rider, you've been riding for a long time, riding rain ruts on slippery, dry dirt's really hard. So
yeah, well, like I said, I was humbled, and you guys all kicked my ass. I'll be the first one to tell you that every day. But what impressed me most was your patience, and which makes perfect sense when you told me that you were doing Hell Yeah Moto and starting to teach people how to ride off road. So tell me how that got started.
So it truly started years ago. I've been leading women's rides specifically for like 5 or 6 years. And I just started it because I'm a girl and I was trying to make more girlfriends, to be honest, have plenty of guy friends. But I was like, wow, there's girls that ride. They're just not all coming together. So why don't I just bring us all together? So I started leading women's rides, started making more girlfriends. And on those rides, you know, a couple of things I noticed was a lot of these girls have self-doubt. They don't have a lot of confidence. They don't know where to start. All of the things that maybe their boyfriend or husbands have kind of groomed or helped them or led them do. But in these groups, you know, we help each other, and then their confidence just skyrockets, and they're like, I don't need no man. And it's so fun for me, like, to see that independence come out. So I realized that on one specific ride outside of Boise, if you know where 8th Street is, downtown Boise up in the foothills, we did an after work ride one time and there were 6 of us girls, and there's this one little section that's like just dry slick and there's just kind of like rocky boulders uphill. Um, and we were dying because it was, 95 degrees, Boise desert heat. And all of us girls, we'd get up, walk down, help the next one, get up, walk down, help the next one. And that was the exact moment that I realized, I was like, I can do this. Like, I'm helping other people find that confidence within themselves, to prove themselves wrong, basically, that they can do this. And just seeing everyone like cheer each other on too was like, holy shit, I got to do this for real. So fast forward a few years, last year, I started planning it. I was like, there's no women's USMCA certified coaches here. Why don't I just do it? So
Yeah.
I went on and got the credentials, and they make you do a couple little tests and stuff. And I passed. And then I got my girlfriend, Liz Leonard, to do it with me too. And I said, hey, let's go put on some clinics. And we partnered with a couple motocross tracks here and marketed it, got AMA sanctioned and chartered, got insurance, and did it all legit. And we've had 2 so far, and I have 4 more on the schedule. But it just reassured me that I don't know, I'm not, maybe meant for this, but I just really enjoy it so much and I needed to do it. So.
Yeah, no, that's impressive, man. I mean, you like you said, you went through the whole thing, you got certified, and you're legit. So what's the response been to some of the people that have taken the clinics?
The response have been good. So the first 2 we did was at Owyhee Motorcycle Club outside of Boise, and that is a member only track, but they actually let me bring non-members in, which was so cool of them. And we did the clinic in a half portion of just like flat ground and half on an actual track with jumps that are intimidating. And a lot of the girls that came, they're on KLX 140s, 85s, 105s, and they're newer, they're beginners, some were intermediate. And I really pushed them. And then at the end, I said, okay, we're going to learn how to jump. Who wants to learn how to jump? Normally people, they don't want to because they're intimidated, but dude, seeing these girls fly on KLX 140s was so awesome. Like, and everyone, because some of their husbands came and just watched, and they said, wow, my wife's confidence was just like out the roof. I've never seen her want to jump before. And it was just so cool. Like, just hearing them say, wow, I want to do it again, or like seeing them, because I paid a videographer to come out. 2A Visuals, Bob, my dude, love you. Seeing these girls in slow motion jumping on a KLX 140 was like, damn, that's cool.
So. Yeah, man, that's awesome. Jacob, are you involved with Hell Yeah Moto or the clinics at all, or are you busy doing other stuff, or are no boys allowed?
It's definitely a no boys allowed thing right now. I try to support her, behind the scenes as much as I can, but this is very much a Cassey ran show. She's a very strong, independent woman, so she don't need no man. But yeah, no, she does it all. Like unfortunately, with my new job, I couldn't be here to like support as much as I want to because I was gone every weekend for Supercross with Fly. But yeah, she really ran off with it. I was very impressed that. I mean, no surprise to me, but also it's just, it's very sexy to see her, take off and do it on her own.
Sure.
He's definitely, I'm sure, as your partner too, someone who supports you with your growth and helps you grow too is super important. And just picking his brain too from all of his experience helped so much. And all we do is like talk about dirt bikes and ride dirt bikes. So
all the time.
That's all the support really that I needed. But yeah, he's helped a lot too, and like helped me set up. I did an expo booth, and that was just really fun. So
nice.
Yeah.
What are the biggest things that you guys have learned from each other riding wise?
So he's like the master at desert, and I think I took you to kind of your first real
mountain woods ride. So like the only woods I'd done before that was like pretty flat, or it was like Big Bear, which doesn't really count. That's like desert mountain. So.
Sure. So you were new to the altitude, as it were.
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure. So she taught me a lot of the woods way. Like she's fast as explicit word in the woods, and I have especially when I was first going through it, I had a hard time keeping up with her, and I'm not I raced up to through the expert open class and stuff. So
Yeah.
it's not like I'm slow, but she holds her own through the woods, and she beats me a lot of times out there. So yeah.
Like, he is
Nice.
so fast in the desert. And I'm talking like those desert guys are crazy. Like all the ones that race Baja and stuff, you just have to turn off, your brain and literally just hold it. And then your body goes into this robot mode, where you just know how to be in attack position the whole time and then just go fast. And that's what he's really good at, and I'm not. So
Yeah.
I feel like when we go ride open fast stuff, I learn from him by just watching him and just trying to keep up, because I can't do that. My brain has to stay on. I think that's why the fast, technical stuff is fun for me, because you're always watching out and remembering what the train might be up ahead from what you just went through and all of that.
Yeah, she definitely taught me a lot of the ways of the woods and stuff, like how to saw deadfall trees and stuff, and the right ways, as well as just living in Idaho, how it's all different and stuff. So yeah, I really got to give her credit for all any woods knowledge I have. I've definitely learned through her. So
yeah, it's a different world, man.
I still got her on the downhills there, though. That's where I catch her in the mountains. I just shift up a gear and
Again, turn off the brain, just go. I'm an overthinker. I'm gonna start endoing and flipping down this thing. But
yeah. Perfect compliments, though. How about that? You guys need to find like an open relay or something where it's you can get a race. You can do a race where there's desert and woods and mountain and altitude, and you guys probably wipe the floor with everybody.
I keep trying to talk her into racing Vegas to Reno with me or something like that.
Okay.
Or 24 hours of Glen Helen, but she'll come around.
Give it time. Yeah. So Jacob, you mentioned you're involved with Fly Racing. You're working with Fly right now. How'd you get involved with them? What do you do for them?
So I'm their events manager, and towards the end of my time with Hare and Hound, I had seen a position open up for events manager, and so she actually brought it to my attention. So
I was like, you would be perfect for this. It's meant for you.
Yes.
And they agreed, obviously. So
yeah.
So my resume filled in exactly for what they were looking for. I met the team, and I don't know, I feel at home there. I love the marketing team there. They're awesome. The whole team's awesome. And my bosses are awesome. They're amazing. Dalton and Anthony. So
he's getting paid to say this.
I'm not. They're
How many times can you say awesome in a row?
So they're really cool. I'm actually
they are
really happy. And they've come over here. We had a barbecue here and stuff.
Nice.
And we're going to go out riding in the woods and stuff. So they're still we're friends outside of work, but when we're at work, we get stuff done, and I just love it. I'm never bored there. We're always getting it done. So. And
you said you're traveling a lot with Supercross.
Yeah, so right off the bat, I started two or 3 weeks before Supercross season started. So I was just got my desk set up, and then we were loading the semi truck to go to Anaheim 1. So we went to every single one except for Detroit. Yeah, Detroit, because there was no Fan Fest there. But so we have a hospitality area we set up for all the dealers. So it's kind of cool because, like I said, I used to work at dealerships right here. So this was kind of full circle for me to kind of treat the dealers and stuff that I used to work with. And I saw a lot of familiar faces from over 8 years ago that I used to work with. So that was super cool. And that's how it works. We set up hospitality area. They come over, we, treat them to food and giveaways and stuff like that. And then we kind of have a area where fans get to come up and they get to sign up for giveaway, our helmet giveaway, and for foam fingers and stuff like that. So
nice. So was it a big jump to go from that Hare and Hound and desert to the Supercross? That had to have been a bit of an adjustment.
Oh, for sure. Hare and Hound, for me, the stress, and I tell people this a lot, the stress level for me for being a series director was at a really high peak, especially with 2 series. And we even had races where we're designing, marketing course. So it was a lot. And the stress level for Fly for me is very low, just because everything kind of just works as a streamline. I'm not overloaded like I was with Hare and Hound. So it's very
sure.
relaxing comparison like that. And they like what I like bring to the table. And it's just a really, I don't know, it's really well balanced for me. I'm really happy with that. But yeah, the adjustment did take a little bit flying every weekend. I wasn't used to flying as much.
Sure,
and also being away, of course, from Cassey was, the hardest part, because gone for, from Thursday, sometimes Wednesday till fly back Sunday. And so it was a lot, like every weekend being gone away from each other was pretty hard to be away from the home. So that was the hardest adjustment for sure. But from work to work, it was just kind of a nice adjustment, I would say. So
I think as a partner, like with Heron Hound, it was a lot of people calling him late at night and just asking for things that, he would just do because he's a nice guy and he has passion for the sport.
Sure.
But any other job, they'd probably say, I get to work at 8 a.m. tomorrow, so I'll save it. But now he can actually do that.
Yeah.
Whereas before, he just didn't, and really couldn't, just because, you can't just leave racers behind if they have questions the night before a race too. But
sure.
So yeah, as a partner, I think he's happier, which makes me happier. Less stress, relationships better, all of the above. And I've met his bosses and everyone over there, and they're good people. I think a lot of the time you think supercross, motocross, it's, these people who are stuck up, and they're actually really not. So that was just really cool for me to hear, because I was a little worried, but
yeah, no, that's cool. And probably get a little bit more time to go riding then too, because you're not fielding questions at 8 o'clock at night or 10 o'clock at night or something. So
yeah, for sure.
I'm not trying to bring Starlink to every mountain ride we have so he can just answer race questions. Like the point is to leave it at home. Yeah.
So as a couple who rides a lot, do you kind of have your own way of communicating while you're riding? I mean, do you have Bluetooth? Do you hand signals? Do you just ignore each other? I mean, or try to race as fast as you can away from each other? What's that like?
There's one finger she keeps showing me. I can't remember which one. That's about it. It's funny you say that, though. We do have a couple we ride with, Jess and Joe. They have a headset, and they're always talking to each other, and which is funny to me, because when one of them comes around the corner, it looks like they're talking to themselves. So that's entertaining to me. But no, for us, we like to kind of enjoy the peace and quiet, I think. So what do you think, babe?
Yeah, we're the complete opposite of Jess and Joe. Like, we're not trying to talk to each other. And if I'm trying to talk to him, it's because I've tried picking up my bike up a rock slide 5 times and now I need his help. So it's usually yelling at that point. But no, I think we both really enjoy being one with nature.
For sure.
So without interruptions. So I think that's our style for sure. I think it's funny because you talk about couples who do things together, and it's always okay, so do you want me to help you? Do you want me to rush over when you fall? And so we had to work that out in the beginning, and after that, it's been good. So
can you kind of read what each other's doing riding wise, or if somebody's struggling or anything like that? Can you read each other's body language that way?
I know I can read hers. I'm curious if she can read mine, though.
Well, reading body language is usually Jake's ran into a tree and has a concussion and he's on the ground. So that's a pretty good read of he might need help right now.
Yeah.
I'm more of a tough love, tough coach type person. So I'll let you try to figure it out in the beginning. And he's a really good rider. So normally he doesn't need help unless, again, he's ran into a tree, which seems to be common these days.
Happens to the best of us.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's, when we're doing super long, hot rides and we're dehydrated, I can tell when he's declining.
Okay,
and we need to seek shade or energy bars or something now.
Yeah.
And I think same for me, just because I have an issue with staying hydrated properly.
Sure.
And I just fade. So
she's the type, she doesn't have a slow decline. Hers is
really?
She is just killing it, and then just bam!
Wow,
throwing up on the side of the trail.
Survival mode.
Yeah.
It's like a roller coaster. It's just you're good, boom, straight down. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's wild, man. But so you said you talked a little bit about taking super long day trips and all that. Have you guys taken any multi-day off-road trips or camping trips or anything like that with off-road riding?
You have?
Well, I mean, sorry. When you say that, do you mean we take the bike out on the trail and we pull out a tent out of our pack and sleep in the woods? Or do you mean we bring a trailer out for the weekend and we're like riding, and then we go back to the trailer after a ride all day.
Well, I originally meant like moto camping, like, you pack a tent and you pack in there and then you do like a multi-day trip or whatever. But I mean, sounds like you've done the other a little bit more with a trailer.
We definitely want to. Like, we would love to. And there's definitely some multiple trail sections we want to link up by doing that. Sure. I just think we haven't yet, mostly because when we go ride, it's like hard enduro for 8 hours. And then we want to go back to our trailer and make dinner and not sleep on the side of the trail right now.
Yeah. Right.
So if we purposely meant to do that, I think it'd be fun for sure. Because a lot of the trails out here, you can link stuff together and it's like multiple mountain lakes and just, it's so cool. So on the bucket list, if you want to come join us, we can make it happen.
I've talked to enough people now that like I kind of have this thing in the back of my head, like maybe ADV bikes would be kind of fun. So I don't know, maybe we could link something up there. So, well, let me ask you guys this: where, and whoever wants to go first can go first, but where is like your favorite, place that you have ever ridden or that you love to ride, like every time it never gets old?
Go ahead, babe.
Gosh. Okay. So I have 3 specifically here in Idaho and 1 in Utah. And that's really all I've ridden, just because we have so many trails here that it's hard to ride outside of this area.
Sure.
So I haven't adventured a lot, to be honest. I've ridden St. George, Utah, and that's my most favorite out-of-state place. It's that slick red rock, dude, is so fun. Talk about traction. There's traction the whole time. And it's so playful. So you can just like blip over things and connect your tires everywhere you go.
Nice.
And then here in Idaho, I'm not going to give away my secrets.
Right. That's important.
But yeah, there's 3 places that are my favorite. And I'd probably say, favorite. I'm going to have to say Pine and Featherville, just Baumgartner area. It just has a place in my heart. That's where I hunt. That's where I ride. I've shared a lot of memories with friends and family and Jake there. And we've also shared a really fun memory of walking out at midnight there together. So, and leaving our bikes in the middle of the woods. So that's probably my favorite. It never gets old.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. How about you, Jacob?
For me, I mean, anywhere in the Idaho mountains I love. As far as the Idaho mountain stuff goes, Baumgartner, like you said, is definitely my favorite. As far as like all the places I've been able to go ride because of my last job and see, I grew up down the road from Ocotillo Wells, so like I used to ride Ocotillo a lot, whether it's to go jump or to go like find single track and like hidden little slot canyons and stuff. So that one never got old for me for sure. Out of state from that though, I really like have this weird affection for Caneville, Utah.
Okay.
It's definitely more of a jumper type place. It's a free ride thing, but it's like so beautiful out there for desert, but it's also like so hostile. So like that balance just kind of makes you, I don't know, makes you really humble, makes you like grounded out there. And like I don't really feel like a fish out of water most places, except for when I first started riding woods out here. But like Caneville, like every time I go there, it's like big, everything's big, everything's like higher consequence, I would say, but it's just an amazing time for me. So
I forgot about Moab. We went and rode 5 miles of hell together.
Oh, no
way.
Was
like the trip that he asked me to be his girlfriend, overlooking Moab, the city, on top of this bluff. That was cool. But
if I didn't know any better, I'd say you were a hopeless romantic, Jacob. Come on now.
For sure.
Did you plan that out?
Yeah. If I have to go back in my concussed head here, I think. Yeah, no, for sure. I was actually thinking about it there. I was thinking, I knew it was going to be somewhere on that trip. I just wanted a good spot, and that was like a pretty epic lookout. And I took a picture before I asked her. So like, pro tip, you just favorite that and you never miss an anniversary because it, puts the date stamp on there. But anyways, just kidding.
But better than asking at 5 miles to hell. But no, that place was so fun too. There were sand washes, the red rock, slick rock, and everything too. We're gonna go there at the end of the year with some friends and go ride that again. But that is just so fun because it's a true test to your mind and your body of how far can you go, because you can't turn around now. So
seriously. So you've mentioned it a couple of times, both of you, about riding with friends and having that motorcycle community. What do you kind of love most about the off-road community that you're in?
What I love most is that it's a community, right? I think a lot of people go out through their life and they wonder, who am I? What's my purpose? What am I doing here? Who are my friends? I stand out. I'm different. With dirt bikes, we're all the same kind of dum-dums, I like to say. Like, we're all just kind of so oddly obsessed with this sport, and that's our thing that we have in common. And everything else is in common too, because that's the one thing we all really care about. And especially here in the Treasure Valley, we have a lot of women that ride, and we're all super cool. No one is stuck up. You walk up to a chick and she wants to be your friend, no matter like if you totally have different interests than dirt bikes, but like that's our main one. Everyone's just so nice here. I've traveled to other states and raced and hung out with other people who ride too. I rode Silverwoods in California by myself. I came back and this chick walked up to me. She's like, "Are you from here? We should totally ride and be friends." I'm like, "No, actually, I'm not. I don't even know where I'm at right now." But that's the thing is, no matter where you go, I think probably in the world too, it's like that. It's just, it brings people together in such a way that nothing else matters.
Love it.
Yeah. I would have to say, like in the old racing community that I was in, everyone kind of had your back. Like I've seen pros go and give another pro their own competition like a wheel that pro can race.
Sure.
I've seen a lot of that happen, especially back in the old days. And like I really like the grit that these people, like off-road riders and racers, have to have. Like, you're going to be around like gritty people that can put up with quite a bit. So that's probably like one of my favorite aspects of it. And like the old school like desert racers, man, they used to like handle things out on the trail, which was pretty like one of my favorite parts. There wasn't like a lot of drama back at camp, I would say, just because a lot of it was handled out there. But
they threw hands on the trail, not back at camp.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So because you're out in the middle of the desert, no one really can see what's going on. Yeah, no, I mean, it's just such a tight community because it's pretty niche, I would say. And like people have each other's backs out here, and we're all, kind of like she said, like-minded people. And we're all addicted to this thing called dirt bikes. And yeah, it's just a good time hanging out with your buddies and stuff out in the trail. You can't really replace that. And I don't know, everyone likes, it's good community. Everyone will help each other out. So
yeah. Well, last question, again, to both of you. If somebody wanted to get into dirt bike riding or off-road riding, whether they're young or old or have ridden in the street or haven't or whatever, what would you think or what would you advise the best way to get into it would be?
So to get into dirt bikes, honestly, is just reach out to someone in the community who has a positive outlook. And we have a lot of local companies that rent bikes. So like what you did, you needed a bike, a gear, transportation to get there, and someone to take you. And we offer all of those things here. No matter where you live, I'm pretty sure something similar is offered in other states around the world too. And then I think the most important part is, just like in life, surround yourself with people who have a positive mindset, because that's going to determine the outcome and the experience you have. So just make sure you go with someone who's stoked to be there and is stoked to be there and show you around, not just there for themselves too. And that's where I think a lot of our friends are the same way. We just brought beginners out at Blacks Creek right outside Boise and went on a trail ride with beginners. And we do that every year, multiple times, because if that's where they start, that's where I started. They start there, they have a really great experience, and then they're hooked. And then we just have more people in the sport, more buddies to ride with.
Right.
So that's what I would recommend. Or just reach out to Hell Yeah Moto. We'll get you into a clinic, get you a bike, gear, people, coaches and friends, and a place to ride.
Love it.
Yeah, I would have to say I agree. Definitely our Hell Yeah Moto program is definitely super suited towards getting beginners into riding. That is definitely a great way. And, I would say going past that, like, just try to let the fear go and try to listen to your friends that have a lot more experience and try to like be overly aggressive with their advice, and you'll go far. I would also say, like, a lot of people think they're not good enough to race too. And I think going out and just getting in a race or two just to go try it low pressure, just go out there with the aspect like of an off-road race I'm talking about specifically, but like go out there with the like perspective of, I just need to finish. And I promise you're going to finish a lot better off than you thought. And it's never too soon. Like I've had people who hardly ever rode a dirt bike or kids on PW50s that like, sometimes I've seen parents just throw them on there. Maybe not that, maybe go ride a few times before you go do that. But yeah, so there's never too soon a time to go do that. But yeah, listen to your friends that I've rode a long time. Sign up for Hell Yeah Moto if you're in Idaho.
Dig it.
And yeah.
I've seen, it doesn't matter the age too. Like I've had a lot of ladies come to me that are in their 50s and they're just picking up the sport. And
nice.
Again, there's a bike and gear and an environment for anyone, any skill level, any age. And I ride with like a lot of fast old dudes too, like 60s, 70s that like
really
rip. Oh yeah, for sure. Shout out Rick at Carl's. So all those guys are so fast. It doesn't matter. Like it's, I think a lot of sports there's higher barriers to entry. And with this one, it doesn't have to be. But the thing is, and what I'm trying to do and what Jake has done a lot too, is like just educate, right? If you don't know where to start, well, then here's where you start. You don't know who to talk to. Here's who you talk to. We have a lot of local clubs and groups here, like TVTMA, Treasure Valley Trail Machine Association, that put on group rides for this reason. And honestly, just connect with a group or someone in the community, and that's all you need.
I agree. Like you can join an off-road motorcycle club too.
Mm-hmm.
Those are good ones to get into, even if you're not ready to race yet. You can even go out and just like volunteer and like see what a race is like. That's a good way to get like hands-on, like see how it's going to be out there.
Yeah.
That's a great way for sure. But yeah, just kind of getting into it, just make that first step and then you're going to be addicted for sure.
And I'm like a map nerd. Like, so there's these maps called Bill Dart maps, and they're made out of synthetic paper. But Bill Dart's an actual guy who has ridden all of the trails around here and has marked them on his difficulty level. And so if you just buy a Bill Dart map and you download, there's Advenza, there's Onyx, there's Caltopo,
sure,
all of those, and you just start clicking around and you're like, wow, there's a trail, I'll go ride it. But education, right? People probably don't even know that exists. So how can we educate people to get into the sport easier? And that's what Jake and I feel like, doing on a personal level and trying to really get out there and do it on a higher level.
Yeah, man. Well, I think you guys are doing a hell of a job. And if I could find two better stewards of the motorcycle industry, I don't think I could. So,
well, thank you very much.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for being on the podcast, and we appreciate it. And maybe I'll give off-road riding another try. I'll come through Idaho. Maybe I'll give it another try.
We'll take you on a better trail. I promise, Mark.
Famous last words.
And I'll bring an extra clutch lever, and I'll get a bike with electric start, and we'll call it a deal. So
there you go.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, guys. We'll talk soon.
Okay, thank you.
Talk soon, Mark.